Baby. I look like cold shit warmed over. Feel that? Silent. Else my buzzing will come through. We don't want buzzing on the podcast. No buzzing. That's cool.
Buzzing, senora.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, we're. Yeah.
We
Sometimes
suck.
it feels like that.
We suck. Bye, bitch.
Never. Me yelling at Google Documents every time.
Actually go live to where people can hear us.
Wee!
Oh my gosh. This week has been brutal. How's everyone's week been?
Brutal.
What's been happening in your world?
I've been working on a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm still working despite the shutdown.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
this means
like, how much has that? Because it's just, is the union that's on strike? It's not a global union, right? Like, it's just in the U.S.
No, ACTRA, I believe, is also a Canadian union. So, like, the thing is, if you've kept up on it, not all productions are in violation of strike demands. So, for example,
Right.
A24, which people are incorrectly calling a indie media company, they're not. They're like a multi-billion-dollar company. They're like
I love everything
paid
they
for
produce, pretty
by
much.
yeah, they're paid for by like investment bros, essentially. Not to like shit talk their work or anything, but just they're not an indie developer like the news people report on this are commonly saying. But
Right.
yeah, A24 is allowed to continue producing right now because they're not in violation of the negotiations or demands. And like that's kind
Because
of
they
one
know
of
how to pay
the
people.
sticking point. Not even that, it's not just paying people. Like A24 is not trying to do like the digital likeness bullshit, right? So not every production is in violation of the strike going on. Therefore, the production that I'm on is not in violation, and we're allowed to do it. It's tier C. It may sound really elitist to people who aren't working in film. They're like, tier C, what are you talking about? Like, you think you're so good if you're not working on like A tier or whatever. But like, there's a big difference in like, I don't want to get too much into the politics of it, just in case like any of this comes out, because it's technically on record. But like, it's a difficult thing. Let me just put it that way. Tier C can be hard. You don't always work with the same unions that you do when you're on a tier A, and that causes problems at times.
Yeah, my girl, like Sarah, she's out there. She is an actress. She lives in LA. She's homeless. And she is older than me. She's 34 years old, and she's done a couple of commercials. I think she's had like a music video. Main credit is her biggest line on IMDb at this point. But like her kind of work, there is no work. There is none to be found. And she's like, I might just have to like come back to Philly because there's nothing to be found in like LA. So on that specific, yeah.
It really depends. Like for example, commercials aren't shut down. You can work on a commercial, because they're not run by the same people essentially. There's like a lot of little minute details about it that makes it complicated, right? Because not everybody's in the same situation with it. So like everybody who's working in film right now who's talked to me is like, how the fuck did you find a show? My answer is always the same. I didn't find a show found me. You know the saying,
Fair.
it's not what you know, it's who you know. That's incorrect. It's not who you know, it's who knows you. That's the real money shot. Because like, let's be real, you can know plenty of people, right? I know some of the heaviest hitting location people out here in Toronto. They're wonderful people. I could also know those people and have a bad reputation with them, right? Like, just because you know somebody doesn't mean they want to work with you, right? So it's your reputation your reputation's a big thing, sort of thing. So like, if people want to work with you because you're personable and like you don't get miserable as soon as stress hits, because like film is a fucking stressful industry. If you know, you know. You need to be able to roll with the punches, right? And being able to do that with grace goes a long fucking way, right? So yeah, like it's there's a lot of things that depends on it, right? And in a different year, like say, what's it called, last year, if you had a PA who was on the DGC list for locations, they were working, right? You pretty, like, the whole hot list was emptied out last year because there was that much of a need for people to be working, but there wasn't like enough people. So what ended up happening was like people got put in on permits and shit. So like yeah, if there's tons of work, right? Like they just, I don't know. I didn't even know what point I'm making anymore.
That's fair. I think I felt like that all week.
Oh, Scott just replied.
Oh, is Scott going to be joining us?
Right now? Maybe.
That would be wonderful.
That would be wonderful.
What were we talking about though? Film, people.
Not working. I would love to work. I have applied to. I can't even count. Like actually, I can count. Kind of started a spreadsheet, but I only started tracking from the last 4. But I have been called by Wawa, and I literally walked into an Office Depot that was staffed by the dead. And I'm like, can I have a job, because I can't do deliveries anymore because the price of gas has inflated again, and so I don't make a profit doing deliveries. And I would like a job. I'm an able-bodied 33-year-old person who can work reasonable. I work overnights. I do all the. I want to work. Where's the jobs? Because the jobs are not appearing. That's my general question to the boomers.
I don't know. I think job bullshit has been like a theme this past week. My supervisor, boss, whatever, he quit. Just left. It was like I kind of knew it would happen eventually, but I just didn't want it to happen. And basically, what happened is I'm kind of stepping in to fill that role, but everything is like on fire, and it's like our busiest time. And so like this past week, I literally just worked nonstop. Like I wake up, I work until I pass the fuck out and go to sleep. So it's been really rough in that department, and it's just like part of me is like, man, I feel like a fucking sellout, you know, like just selling all my time to this goddamn company, but it's like I don't really have much other option at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
So that's been tough, and I guess I've sort of like I don't know, I've sort of got this in my mind. I'm like, oh, should I find another company? You know, like should I look for something else, something better, better working conditions? And I'm like, I have worked so many fucking jobs. I don't think there are any better jobs out there at this point. It's just all like work and we don't care about you and you're just gonna have to deal with that. And that's kind of the vibe.
Suck it up, Buttercup.
Yeah, it's
Disposable. There's other
brutal.
people. That's why they need a high amount of like unemployed people, so that they can treat you like you're utterly disposable and then dispose of you the moment that you get any idea of actual self-worth or what you actually bring to the company.
Yeah. Pretty
And that's
much.
the funny thing is our unemployment on a national basis is actually at the lowest it's been since basically Clinton era. Like even before Clinton, like basically post like big boom, like we are only at 2.6% unemployment in the United States because most people actually hold 2, 3, 4 jobs just to, and it's.
I just don't think like if you're like I just feel like employment should count as a full-time livable wage. Like I am employed full-time and I receive a livable wage, and I think that should be considered being employed. If you are not making a livable wage or you are working several thousand part-time jobs to make a livable which is not sustainable, but I don't think that should count as employed, you know, like not to diminish the work these people are doing, but it's they should receive additional assistance and aid because they're not making enough at their fucking current jobs, you know. It's real brutal out there. It's just real fucking brutal, and I've just been feeling it like that sort of crunch this particular past week because it's just like these companies do not give a shit. It's just like my so like my supervisor left, so his boss is now like the person that I'm reporting to. And the solution to all the so we have more work than we can handle for our team, and the solution is work overtime. And I'm like, that's it. That's all you got for me is work overtime to get all that work done. Yeah.
When they steal overtime wages.
Yeah.
Which sucks even more.
Yeah, so like when you have PTO, they just take that because overtime only counts for time worked. So if you have PTO in there, that just gets, you know, deducted and sucked out and rearranged and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I just feel like I'm kind of like barely human at this point in the week because all I'm doing is thinking about like everything that has to be done tomorrow and leading into the week after. We're like getting really into the crunch time for our annual Pagan Pride event here, and yeah,
Kill
everything
me.
feels
No.
Yeah, it feels like
The first mistake you made in this whole debacle. Being human. You shouldn't have done
right.
that.
Yeah, I shouldn't have done that.
You shot yourself in the foot the moment you did that.
For real.
I swear, I don't feel human. I don't. Like, I was prepping for this Wawa interview, which they still have not called me to schedule, which they should have like a week ago. But I don't think they will because I didn't immediately hop to them like doing an interview that day. I was like, I have stuff to do that day. So can we do it like on Monday? No. So that immediately marks me as, I guess, unhireable. But like I was prepping for this interview and like the general interview questions for like customer service associates. And I'm like, I don't know how to answer these. I don't know how to interact with humans. I never have. And that must mean I am not human. But continue.
Good theory.
I feel like anybody might feel inhuman or robotic in a society that continually demands your dehumanization for the price of survival.
Yes.
That's it.
That's what it is.
Sophia coming in with like the little snippets of like words that I
Yeah.
couldn't even repeat if I fucking think about it, just because I'm like throwing
Hey.
knives at target dummies in
That's
video
why it's
games right now. Just
recorded.
Yeah, you just have this
Oh,
way of
dear.
just kind of succinctly kind of wrapping it up. But yeah, that's what it is. It's like, society demands that we dehumanize ourselves constantly, all day, every day. Like
Mhm.
my job is, and like I see it at my job too, because like with the amount of demand that's on us, like they act like we work like computers. And sometimes I feel like a computer. Like literally my job is quality control. I'm checking the same things. I'm checking numbers and account numbers and names, and that's my job could be replaced by some kind of AI software. I am sure of it. That was trained to scan the documents the way that I do. And at this point, I almost want to be like, yeah, sure, replace me with a fucking robot or software because like I don't feel human anymore, you know. But the problem is like
Also,
we'll replace these jobs, but then like there's I don't know, we just don't offer ourselves a better alternative, you know.
let us
That-
remember too that like we don't actually have AI right now. We have tech bros hyping up AI, something like it's AI when it's not. You
Yeah.
know, because like that's a thing. I've heard so many people being like, "Oh, this AI stuff's going to take our job," and I always correct them. Not AI, it's a GPT, and it's a fucking language script, and it doesn't even understand context, and it will double down on like incorrect facts and gaslight you and tell you that you're wrong when like it's actually the thing that's wrong. Like an AI could actually reason with you. An AI would actually be self-aware and cognizant. It is
Mhm.
absolutely not.
Yeah. So, and that's a good point that you pointed out, Sophia. Like everyone thinks it's like everyone knows Chat GPT, which is I was actually using Chat GPT to answer those customer service questions because I didn't know how to answer them. So I'm like, I'm gonna type them into Chat GPT and then I'll take the answer and I'll apply it to my own personal circumstances because the robot sounds better than I do. But ChatGPT is just, as you said, like a language interface. It is not true AI, but should be noted, there is the same company who put out ChatGPT does have AI software that has passed the Turing test, has passed the New York bar, has actually made science like yeah, there is a true AI. There is AI out there, but
See, that's the thing. I'm
ChatGPT
not
is
sure.
not.
I'm not sure about that because like I've watched a lot of interviews with experts about this stuff right now who have stated that like what you're describing, we're not even within like a huge distance of getting that in time. So like I would be cautious to make sure that those are not like hyperbolistic reviews. Like please provide links on that.
Mm.
Oh, I will. I'll put yeah. I'll put obviously.
Yeah, we'll drop some links
That's
in
why
there.
I have my
Kind of
computer
like
here.
kind of like the person talking about how there's let's get into it. The guy, did y'all hear about the whistleblower about the unsanctioned UFO program and
Yeah,
how like
yeah.
there's the
I
fucking
heard.
apparently alien life that they have in containment, like not just non-human but like extraterrestrial type shit. Like, so yeah, it's just a whole thing, you know.
I did see like some headlines and I kind of skimmed some articles about it, but I didn't do too much digging. But basically it was just kind of like confirmed that like, yep, government's got alien bullshit. and that's what's up.
But like even with that, they have to provide a lot more evidence than simply what's been stated because there's a standard to meeting those claims, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here
So
we
like
go.
even though he said that stuff, it needs to be talked about in a skiff with like classified personnel who can actually get clearance on that shit.
Mm.
So actually, an AI first passed the Turing test in 2014. The Turing test is actually no longer considered a benchmark for AI intelligence. It's too old. ChatGPT, also Google's Lambda, literally they broke the Turing test. Because the Turing test is given by a robot. It's given by a subpar AI. It's given by a computer. If you Google.
Like the top
Google
links that pop up.
But this is from the ABA journal, and the latest version of AI program ChatGPT has passed the uniform bar examination by a significant margin, earning a combined score of 297. That even surpasses the high threshold of 273 set by Arizona. And I will take this link because it's an actual medical journal. In the Kick chat. And show notes. Where?
Voice text.
Because I will show the video with the expert I have.
There you go. Oh god.
What do you got? Juice everywhere.
Yeah.
And I will reference you the counterpoint video that I am referring from. Wait about pop. He does several interview stuff.
This guy's hair is everything.
Oh my god, honey, I've watched.
So
yeah,
but go and give a bunch of his stuff a watch on it because they break down a lot of the hyperbole being thrown around in this, right?
I understand. I watched the video. I'm a fan of his. I've watched all of his videos, and I know what his approach on AI, and that's why he's on the picket lines to SAG-AFTRA. Circling back to that,
but his stance is that they aren't actually AI. Like,
yeah, I think AI it's sort of a misnomer at this point. Yeah,
sure,
it is a misnomer, but colloquially,
artificial
it's known as
intelligence,
AI,
a computer being able to surpass humans in intelligence level.
Honestly, I just look at fucking Republicans and conservatives. I'm like, well, it's not that hard to pass, human intelligence.
There was a guy walking around with only 10% of his brain, and he worked in a bank. Like, you only need 10% of your brain to function.
Sometimes I feel like only 10% of my brain functions. Sometimes I really feel that way. I guess, is Scott joining us? Or
no. Actually, okay. That I checked the message. They'll be here next week.
Okay, that's fair. It's been brutally hot. I don't know who else is melting, but we are. How's it been up?
I mean, it's really hot over here in Toronto, but like, it's not going to be the same as what y'all are getting down there.
Yeah. It's so funny to be considered.
But hey, at least people know climate change is an issue now that people are dying from it.
Yeah, it's been driving me fucking nuts because like I've been seeing all these like articles and headlines and shit. This is going to be the hottest July ever, like ever, and I'm like,
No, we're always going to constantly reference back to the Simpsons meme of so far.
Right.
When Bart's like, "This is the worst day ever," and then Homer's like, "This is the worst day ever so far."
So far. Right. I just I just really hope we can get to a point where we start doing something instead of going, wow, it is just so hot. Wow. How is this happening? We could have never seen this coming.
I hope we don't die.
Yeah. I don't like this morning was actually the first morning this entire summer so far that it was cool. Like it was like nice and cool in the morning because that's how a summer morning should be. There should be a little coolness in the air as things are starting to warm up and come up. It should not be like the past couple weeks. Like I've opened the front door and I'm like I can't fucking breathe. Like it's just like like soup. And like the air conditioner, I'm like nope, immediately goes on. Nope, fuck that. I'm also not built for
this
summer,
is like
too.
the first summer where like even people who knew that they were like using talking points are like, oh, yeah, this is so bad we can't deny it anymore, huh?
No,
yeah,
they're still denying it.
we're gonna put
Some are.
even the Republicans. No, they're like, we're gonna plant 1 trillion trees. That's our response, even though that's not enough.
No.
We're not supposed to tell them that though. But point being, like even people who are in denial about it are starting to say, hey, let's do something.
Yeah, like maybe we should. I was actually reading this interesting article about recycling and kind of how like one I know here in Philly in particular we don't do it barely at all. It's kind of like a smoke and mirrors. We recycle, but not really, kind of thing here. What an interesting thing is that I was reading is that's kind of like it's sort of like the default thing that we go to, right? Like climate change. Oh, reduce, reuse, recycle. Like that was like drilled into us. But really it's not so much about recycling anymore. It's more about the idea of sustainability. Like sustaining what we have. And so it's like instead of recycling the plastic into something else, why not offer a sustainable product from the get-go? You know, like why not just manufacture things?
And they don't actually recycle any of that shit anyways. They just claim that they do.
Right. But then I see like in other countries, like I've seen like I think it was in India or Africa, like they'll take like recycled plastic. Well, they'll take plastics and they'll have a way of like melting, refining them and reshaping them into like bricks, like plastic bricks, and they're able to like make housing from that. I'm like, okay, yeah, like,
that's a great use for it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know why we're not doing more of that here, especially because
you know what
like,
else we could do?
We
could melt it all
problem.
down and put it into one spot as a giant fucking rock, and it wouldn't just be like fucking microplastic problem.
Yeah, that also freaks me out too. I think about microplastics a little more than I should. I'm like, ew, there's like microscopic plastics in my body. Like, I don't feel good about that. Doesn't make me feel good inside.
Well, you know what they say. There's a little Barbie in all of
us. Have you seen Barbie?
Of course. I saw it last night.
Oh, you saw it last night? Nice. We haven't seen it yet. Is it worth paying money for?
Yes. Look, I'm not going to spoil it. Uncritically, it's one of the best things I've ever witnessed.
Oh.
I think we got.
You will laugh out loud multiple times. It is unexpectedly dark and grim.
Yes.
So one of those movies, like it's also, for kids, but not really.
Oh no! Let me. Okay, I'm gonna give you a little spoiler. Okay. There's a point where some guys are harassing Barbie and Ken, and Barbie's response to them is, "I don't have a vagina," and he doesn't have a penis. And I was like, "Wow, a whole bunch of trans people are gonna feel really seen by this line, huh?"
What is Barbie
they're,
rated?
Like, they're dolls, and they have PG because PG, it's not a G movie. Like, like there's a joke in the beginning where the Kens are fighting. They're like, "I'm gonna beat you off." No, I'll beat you off, and then that's like they're constantly saying, "Hey, nobody's beating anyone off here," you know, and it's like
it is actually PG-13. Wow.
Yeah. PG-13. Gotcha. Wow. It was PG up here. I guess it's PG-13 down there. Yeah. There's a lot of references.
I'm actually
to genitals.
surprised. I thought the original was supposed to be R actually. Like it was actually supposed to be like mature.
Oh, okay, so it was written to be a more mature Barbie movie.
It's written for adults, actually, not for kids. And that's one of the big problems that my partner pointed out about the marketing of it, is that they didn't really want to get into the plot line about the show because they really wanted it to be a surprise. And it's really well written. But that is kind of the problem, is that people felt like it was just like, okay, well, what am I going to get out of watching this? Is it just going to be like a a weird visual experience, or is it going to be like a digestible narrative that I can actually crunch on? You know, like what am I getting into, right? And like to its credit, it's incredibly good, but like the marketing team kind of fucked it a little bit in that regard, right? Because they should have really showcased how dark it is. Okay, I'll give you one tiny spoiler, okay? They're like in Barbie Land and they're talking about everything perfect like it is in Barbie Land. And then like the whole thing that starts everything off, she's just like, do you ever think about dying? And everyone just like stops and looks at her like, what? And like it sets the tone for the whole movie. Okay. So yeah, it's good.
All right, we might have to see Barbie then, because I've been like on the
You
fence
absolutely
about
have
it.
to go see Barbie.
Yeah, I
No,
think it's
go
a
see Barbie
requirement.
is my full. It's
We should
it,
see
like
if Scott
even
and
as a
Darian have
movie
seen Barbie
maker,
yet.
as a movie maker, they make like Margot, or not Margot, the director has a point where she says something, a note to filmmakers, and you'll know it when it happens, right? But like, God, it's funny. Like I cackled when I heard it, because like I was literally thinking the exact thing that she said. You know, I'm like, that's a weird point to be making with what you're doing here. And then she points that out. I'm like, you're so self-aware, I can't even be mad.
Not even mad.
So
Not even mad.
it's good. It's good.
Good. All right, we'll have to see. We'll have to see if Scott and Darian have seen Barbie. Maybe we'll kidnap them.
They already have.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, they've already seen it. Wow.
Yeah.
We're late.
We're like the last, and I'm like, if you're dragging me to see Barbie, we're gonna buy tickets for Oppenheimer too, because really that's what I want to see.
I don't want to see Oppenheimer at all.
Wait, so
I want to
like,
see
you
Oppenheimer.
would rather see? That is
Yes.
bizarre to me. You have no interest in seeing
I'll
Barbie?
explain. Oh, Brew has no interest in seeing Barbie. I thought you were going to say you have no interest in Oppenheimer?
That's what's flooring me right now, is the lack of interest in Barbie. It's Margot Robbie.
It's not it's okay. So first off, it's not lack of interest in Barbie. It's the fact that I would rather, like, yes, Barbie, cute, pink. I know it's dark comedy. It's Margot Robbie. Everything that I would normally say yes to in a movie.
Right.
It just also happens to be sharing a theater with Oppenheimer, which is literally about the nuclear bomb that might be dropped on us any day, and I'd rather see that.
There's a whole bunch of reasons why I'm not watching Oppenheimer. The movie kind of low-key glorifies him a little bit from what I've heard, and like the problem is they don't actually go into like how the atomic bomb was tested on indigenous people and on their land, and like not actually consenting, like what happened with the Navajo nation, also known as the Diné, or like what happened with Bikini Atoll, where they nuked the underside of the ocean just to test out what would happen, and like completely destroyed like
I thought they tested
the environment there, and like they tested them in multiple places. The desert test was done on the Diné reservation in the States, and the ocean one was done in Bikini Atoll, and they didn't properly explain to the indigenous people there what the fallout effects were going to be from it, and they had a way better idea than what the information they gave them.
They tested it that
and
close
essentially
to
they can't.
Humans?
They knew it was going to have a radiation, but they pulled people out of there like ahead of time. But like the people who were dispossessed from Bikini Atoll never got to go back, right? And a lot of them really wish they could, because it's like their ancestral land. Like you're intrinsically tied to where you come from, right?
Right, and
so
they
like
just irradiated it.
The legacy, the legacy of the bomb is intrinsically tied to like dispossessing indigenous people from their land, and that's something that the movie doesn't really grapple with so much as it just like skirts around. And I really wish that we actually fucking owned up to shit, rather than just being like, oh, here's the dramatized cool looking version. You know, it's dishonest, and I think that we need to do better.
I have heard a lot of criticisms about that movie.
That's my hot
But I've
take.
also heard a lot of good things about, like, as a movie. I think like a lot of people are like, yeah, it's a good movie.
I've heard that too. I've heard that it was really well filmed. I've heard that the cinematography, even though I don't actually like the use of that word, is very good. I've heard a lot of really good things about it. That it's like 3 hours long, but it feels like an hour and a half.
I ain't going. No.
Yeah, it's some Lord of the Rings Return of the King shit.
3 fucking hours. Like, I'm gonna have to pee like at least 3 times during this movie. Alright, how about we
It's not 3.5, it's 3 hours.
Oppenheimer? We'll pirate Oppenheimer.
I would caution against that because that's going to be one that they're really heavily watching for.
Of course they fucking are. Pieces of shit.
That's why I have a VPN.
A VPN. We got the VPN.
We got the VPN because I've
With
got
the
too many
VPN, anything's
emails from...
possible.
I've got too many emails from Comcast.
That's gonna
and
be my
Verizon.
new.
Like, you should not be doing that.
That's it. I've decided my new wizard name, VPN. I am hidden through levels of obscurity.
Sergeant Vipin's Lonely Hearts Club.
Oh, is Vipin a thing? Did I steal that from somewhere by accident?
No. I was making a play on Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club.
I'm not familiar with that. Wait.
It's
Vipin
a fucking
Web.
Beatles reference. Come
there's
on.
There's my wizard. I fucking hate. Sorry,
I hate him too.
Beatles fan. Oh, really? You're not a Beatles fan? I'm just like, man, they're so overplayed. Like, all right, they're a bunch of dudes. They made some music, did a lot of drugs.
They're weird. Listen. They're weird, bull-haired cunts from like the UK who appropriated other cultures to make their boy band sound more impressive. That later then gave us a scourge of more boy bands. They can fuck off with a spiky dildo.
I guess, yeah, the Beatles were kind of the first boy band. Yeah. I
mean, actually, Beach Boys might be before that, but you know what? The Beach Boys can be forgiven because they have a couple bops.
Were they?
Ooh, round, I get around. You know that one.
I always used to mix up... You're muted, bro. I don't know if you're saying anything. I used to mix up the Beastie Boys and the Beach Boys all the time, like when I was younger. Two very different...
Beastie Boys are way better.
Musical groups.
Beastie Boys are way better.
See, I never got into those.
Dying laughing.
I fucking hate the Beastie Boys.
We're talking about the origins of the boy band.
The boy band episode.
No.
Well, that's very appropriate segue. Another example of why me and my lovely hubby were destined to be together. Inadvertently, we were both at the same Backstreet Boys concert around 1996 at the old Wachovia Center or something, whatever, one of them stadiums in Philadelphia. But yeah, my mother bought me tickets, and his mother bought him and his sister tickets, and we did not even know each other back then, but we were at the same. I was miserable. I didn't like the Backstreet Boys. I liked NSYNC. And my mom couldn't afford NSYNC because obviously Justin Timberlake drew a higher monetary value.
Being a child born in the early 90s and, growing up in the early 2000s and whatnot, like, boy bands it was like warfare, like
boy bands roamed the earth, man.
But honestly, I am forever the group that I put above all of those fucking boy bands is the goddamn Spice Girls. Okay, they were awesome. I love them to death. They're like my first idols.
I didn't spice up my life very much.
You didn't spice up your life? You need to spice up your life.
No,
we should have a Spice World watch party in the Discord.
Look, I'm gonna state some really controversial shit, okay?
Oh no.
I'm just gonna hurt everyone's feelings right. I'm gonna hurt everybody's feelings right now. I don't like the Spice Girls, I don't like Britney Spears, and white people cook with too much garlic and onions, and it's an excuse for knowing how to put flavor in their food.
I'm not sure how all of those things are related, but
muted.
Not sure how all of those things are related.
Gag than any. That was a person. You read me, honey. No, don't be coming for my garlic and onion, okay? Because there's also salt. There's also basil. There's other ones that get added to the garlic.
Also, charcuterie is gross. I'm sorry.
The rudeness.
Now that I've heard every white person's feelings ever,
as someone who's like very as someone who's very low carb, I love a good charcuterie board. I love making meats and my cheeses. because all that bread is
I'm
gonna
over here
hurt
just
me.
saving the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial opinions, like
The
die
episode
on a
in
hill
which
opinions.
the episode in which Sophia comes for all
Sophia
white
gets
people.
canceled.
Sophia gets canceled. Hashtag cancel.
That's the title.
Sophia's canceled. That's the title of this episode.
We do not
Yeah,
support
we're
cancel
uncancelable.
culture
I fully believe this podcast
on this channel.
This podcast is
We're not big enough to
uncancelable.
cancel, but boy, if we got bigger, they could annihilate us like a fucking zit between pliers.
Go for it. I dare you.
Yeah, that's quite the image, isn't it?
Like, it's just,
Maybe.
I'm just kind of like, okay. Don't listen. That's always been the theme. Don't like it, don't listen. Keep it pushing. Thank you.
So does anybody play video games anymore?
No.
Lately, I have not. My life is consumed.
You just gave up on those things, huh?
I don't have enough time. There's not enough time in the time-space continuum. Yeah.
I was going to become a pro Paladins player. Like, I was even talking with Randy from Pagan Pride because he actually started a whole esports company. Now, really, he's just focusing on Pokemon. He has one Pokemon Go team right now. Let's go, Randy. I don't know what the team's name. I'll put it in the.
I didn't even know Pokemon Go had a competitive scene, so that's where I'm at with esports. Should we start a Witches Betwixt esports team? What would be our game? Call of Duty. No, that game sucks. That game's garbage.
No, don't. It's not worth it.
All right, let's start it. Okay, if you were going to start an esports
There's
team,
too much.
What game would it be?
Overwatch.
Overwatch is always an option.
Pavlov.
Battlefield. Battlefront.
Pavlov.
That massive game.
Pavlov.
Never heard of that game.
It's a VR shooter.
Very niche. Niche market.
Also, if you didn't do VR, I'd say Battlefield, but Battlefield's trash right now, so BattleBit. But you have to have a PC to play Battlefield. And then if I do play PC, I can't play mouse and keyboard because it gives my left hand carpal tunnel. I'm not good at doing continual keystrokes all day. It gives me carpal tunnel really easy. That's why I play video games, because the controller is ergonomic and I can actually like fucking survive when I'm using it, right? So the mouse is perfectly fine. Mouse doesn't do anything in my hand. It's 10 out of 10. Ideally, what I need to do is create a hybridized bastard where I take a VR controller in the left hand and use its analog stick for like the left, right, and walk movement, like WASD would. And then also have all the other button inputs on it, and then use a mouse in the other hand. And then I'd be able to play PC games without detriment. However, there is a couple downsides. Certain games like Doom rely on you being able to hit a number wheel from 1 to 10 to actually like differentiate your weapons. So if you don't do that, you're kind of fucking yourself up a little bit. Yeah, and you'd basically be better off playing the gaming console mode at that point, where they have like, say you want to switch weapons, you hit a button that brings up a radial menu that you select from with a directional input, and it also gives you a slow time feature while that's active.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Now, let's be clear, that's actually a disadvantage still compared to the numerical input, because being able to just hit a key and have your gun come out immediately is a lot faster and more effective than having to slow time to grab something. Because the enemy is still moving while you're trying to think and select, right? If you just hit the fucking button, it comes out. So like on PC, there's a whole different technique of quick swapping where you hit a number and you fire a certain amount of times because there's no reloading in Doom. And then you hit a different number to switch to a different gun, and you gunfire swap combo. There's like whole fucking code systems that you're basically inputting, and it's really fucking cool.
That's for some hardcore Doom players.
Have you seen Doom speedruns?
I haven't, but I can only imagine what they are like.
I'm
sure
gonna
it's
link a
intense.
channel after this
I've
just for
watched
y'all to enjoy.
I've watched a lot of.
He's called. Go ahead.
I was saying the only speedruns that I've watched, not really huge into speedruns, but the two that I've watched were Ocarina of Time and whatever the one for Super Nintendo was. Can't remember. Link to the Past? I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are fun to watch. But no, I've never watched like a Doom speedrun or anything like that.
Do it. It's so good. It's so good. Not even necessarily a speed run. I'm going to link a channel called Oyf, Oyff. And he's like a pro gamer who does videos of just playing at the highest level that he could possibly go at. And like it's fucking impressive. This man is hang on, let me just get you one of his best ones. Until it is done.
My problem when it comes
Where
to
do
see,
I
I
wanna put this?
also tend to favor controller over mouse and keyboard. One, the carpal tunnel issue is an issue for me as well, because like I'm always typing like all day every day, mouse and keyboard for my job, and you know it sucks after a while. But my other problem is that there's just too many fucking buttons on the keyboard, and I'm constantly hitting the wrong button. I'm like WASD, fucking Q, shit, wrong button.
So that's where ergo keyboards come in really handy. They only have like a set number of keys on them relevant to what you're pressing during the game. You know what I mean?
Yes, I got like a half keyboard. I got it at like a cheap like Five Below kind of store. It's like a half keyboard where it just really has like the left side of keyboard.
Yeah, even if you're
of
not gaming, that kind of a keyboard has a huge advantage. Like my partner
I can see your
codes for a
TV
living.
right now.
You can see my TV. Oh shit, I dropped it.
I just saw like upside down this like game movement. What are you playing? Overwatch?
Apex. I'm trying to get better
Apex.
because my friend got back on PS5. I'm sure you met Branch or heard Katie talk about him. He's back on PlayStation and playing Apex. So I'm like, okay, I'll get better at Apex so I can game with you.
Katie's been playing Apex as well, so she's kind of got back in.
That's why I'm trying to get back into it. I'm playing the harder modes of like the arena shooting shit rather than just what's it called? The battle royale, because anybody in battle royale can just like third party and win a fight, right? It's a lot harder to win in an arena shooter sort of thing where like there's a whole bunch of teams and like you're respawning constantly and you're fighting constantly. And it makes you a lot better at the combat system of the game. So I'm trying to grind it out so I get better at the mechanics intrinsically.
My strategy in any battle royale game is hide for as long as possible, and then hope I can shoot them before they shoot me.
My battle strategy is be ruthless. I was really fucking good at Warzone because if you know how to do airsoft IRL, it applies really effectively because like it's about being sneaky, understanding player psychology and movement and stuff. Like I had a Warzone match where I played with my partner at the time and her ex-partner. And her ex-partner is like a pro CS:GO player, right?
Oh wow.
I kicked her ass for how good I did in that match.
I'm telling you, why don't you go pro with something? Be good at it.
It's not that easy.
I know it's tough to break into.
Like I was on top of the fucking leaderboards for Battlefield Hardline. I was literally #1 medic, right? But the problem that happens with that is like you can only do that, and you have to hyper focus on a game and a skill, and it like eats up all your time. Like
it is
if I try to do that, the amount of time and focus I put into it requires me to not be working a regular job, right? I can't work my current job setup and be a pro gamer. That shit just doesn't happen. And you also need to be tuned into a game for your skill set. So like I've been improving on Overwatch by playing with people on PC lobbies using a PS5 game. Like I'm playing on my console with my friends on PC, and my friends in top 500 lobbies, right? So like I'm sometimes getting my ass kicked, but I'm sometimes really kicking ass too, and I'm learning to dial in my skill set. So like when I come back to console lobbies after that, I'm playing really fucking hot, right? But that's the thing. Other really skilled players on console are playing within a similar threshold, and you just bottleneck the servers until you start playing the same people repeatedly, and you get into that higher skill tier. Like there's this problem with video games where you end up playing in a certain range of skill where you're going to match against them, but like other people who are good, and you're going to think that you're really good. But then when you improve a lot, you're going to start playing those other people who've improved a lot, and you're going to be like, wow, like it really does. It's non-linear, it gets way fucking harder later on. The other people are like, oh, okay, you think you're good, I'm going to fucking style on you. That's what I'm going to do.
I'm such a casual when it comes to games because I just don't have a lot of time to play them. Like I have even less time, than the average person. So I'm like, I'm never gonna be pro with any kind of game. But I have dreams. You can always dream big.
It's about practice. Let's go ahead, Rue.
No, it's just yeah, it is about practice. I have all the time in the world, and like none of the motivation.
That's another thing too.
If you don't have the motivation for it, you're not gonna.
It depends
like when I was top of the leaderboards with
about.
Battlefield. The thing is, when I was at the top of the leaderboards with Battlefield, it wasn't a good thing. We weren't showering. We were not going out and socializing. Like when that game came out, when we got to the #1 squad, we didn't. Most of us had like one shower that week. We just played the fucking game, and played the game, and ate food while playing the game. Right?
And the food is not healthy food usually.
Of course not, because it's fast shit that you're throwing in a microwave or something, or like ordering a pizza while you play. Right? Like
it's like what it comes out is
and
like
eating in between lobbies.
Yeah, and you see that with a lot of like pro teams of esports. Like I remember I followed Overwatch for a little bit, like the pro team, because Philly had a team, and so I followed them for a little bit. But like they work out, like they have to eat healthy, like they try and keep their bodies in good physical condition. Because I don't know who needs to hear this, and there's probably people out there who do need to hear us. It is still physically taxing to keep your body in one fixed position for hours at a time, just as much as doing a standing, moving, hard physical labor job is difficult on your body, so is sitting in one fixed position. Because like I was reading actually about professional chess players, like they practice sitting, as weird as that sounds, because they're sitting there for so long with these games, and chess is very is a very intense game, especially at those like big professional levels and whatnot. Yeah, they practice like certain like breathing techniques and relaxation techniques so your muscles aren't too tense. And pro gamers very similar, and also people who stream for hours on end, like you got to keep yourself in good shape even though you're just sitting.
Also, though, there's pure goblin mode, which a lot of people also do, though. Like, I know plenty of people who've just been doing it so long that all they do is goblin mode, and they, like, hunch over like this. Like, you put your elbows, you sit cross-legged, you hunch over, you put your elbows on your knees, and you put all the slack forward in your shoulders and roll your back, and you look forward and you play the game.
Oof. Makes me feel pain thinking about that.
It's what some people call the zone, and it's like you're playing serious, like you're like in the I need to have my face at the exact correct viewing angle to be able to fucking do what you're doing the best,
Being in the zone.
God, when we're gonna talk about witchcraft being $1 billion industry.
I know.
Yeah.
I kind of. That was kind of my goal. Yeah, Scott didn't show, and I know Scott would probably have a lot to say on that topic as well. That was kind of like, whatever. I should know better than to have a goal for a topic for an episode, because it never fucking works out.
That's not true.
Sometimes
It
it
definitely does work out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, shit is, I'm gonna say the podcast's non-linear.
Yes.
Because shit leads to other shit. Non-linear is like my favorite description of things since yesterday. I don't know why.
It is though, because I was realizing that's like kind of how my brain works too. Because like I'll sit down to do something for the podcast, and then all of a sudden I'm reminded of like something for Pagan Pride that has to be done or whatever, and then everything kind of circles back to what I'm doing anyway. So like everything's just all interconnected at that point. So yeah, but also very non-linear, connected but non-linear.
Careful. Careful, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. Everything's connected.
What it is.
All it is.
It's the Force.
I joke, I kid.
The Force.
No, why was
But,
it like you said the Force, and like in my dreaming last night I dreamed about Star Wars, and I had this like silly realization since we had watched the Obi-Wan series, and I was thinking about the first movie, like the very first Star Wars movie. And I was like, and like literally, I did not make this connection. And I was like, oh, right, of course, that she would send for him to help because she thinks he's the only one left. And I didn't make that connection.
Oh, the only Jedi
morning.
left. Yeah.
Right. Like at the very first movie. So really, if you think about it, they really have come full circle. They really have explained everything.
I would say overall, George Lucas did an okay job at keeping all of his movies
I'm
together.
gonna go the other direction on this. Why do we have to explain everything all the time? Like, I think sometimes when like you leave shit up to the imagination, the story is better. You know?
I agree. Yeah. Because we were watching Vikings, and there was kind of something interesting. So there was like a scene where, because Vikings is really about it. It's about the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok, which is, to my knowledge, some actual real sort of Norse legends that exist. And basically, what it was is like there was a scene that Queen Quentrith of Mercia, or Quenthrith of Mercia, and Ragnar, they fucked and produced a son. But like, so like originally in the filming of the show, they filmed the sex scene, so it was like confirmed, like, yeah, they had sex and this son was produced. But they actually cut it from the show, like when it actually aired, because they wanted to keep that sort of like air of mystery around it. Like, did they? Is it really his son? That kind of thing. So sometimes I think it's more fun that way. So I kind of see what you're saying there. Like, you don't have to over explain everything. Sometimes it's more fun to have the mystery or like the ambiguity of the situation.
Like going into the backstory about like the Clone Wars, for example, doesn't necessarily make it better, right?
Yeah, because he does mention, and I will say that he does mention the Clone Wars in A New Hope. From what I remember, he's like, "Oh, you fought in the Clone Wars with my father," but like,
yeah,
we have no context at that point what the Clone Wars was.
Yeah, and it could have been this way better thing than what we actually get to see, right?
Yeah. That is
like that's one of the real tricks of writing, is not filling in all of the things and letting really good bits that the audience can chew on not be filled in, so that they can come up with their own conclusion. And that's what really makes an enjoyable story. If you lay out every single answer like it's a fucking perfect lore book, it becomes a little almost even uncanny valley or to like magical bullshit. You know what I mean? Like in real life, we don't have all the facts of everything, right? Things aren't always filled in. We really do have to leave things up to our imagination a lot of the times, right? I think that's an accurate portrayal of reality, you know?
Yeah, that's why I really like that Scion tabletop game, because especially from the DM, or they call it a storyteller, from the storyteller perspective, they give you a framework for constructing a story or narrative or campaign. They give you like a basic structure, but then they kind of let you fill in the details. It's kind of like, okay, so your players are, this is kind of happening. They need to obtain the thing or, complete the quest. But, like, it's very vague, and then it kind of lets you sort of fill in as you go. And that's what I enjoy about it. So, yeah, that's kind of just what it reminds me of.
You don't want to over-explain. It really kills shit.
That is also true, I think.
You.
To bring this a little bit about witchcraft, even though we're already basically an hour in, that is also true of witchcraft, is like some witchcraft books I think now seek to over explain magic. Like a lot of magic you have to really experience. Just because you read in a book that, you have to meditate this way, you have to set up your spell this way, you have to do ritual this way. Just because it's in that book does not mean like that is the absolute 1,000,000% rules. That just means that that is the way that that author of that book does what they're doing. They're just providing you with basic information of how they do it and how to kind of safely do it. But if you have another method, by all means.
Yeah, that's one thing that I'm really sick of in the community is how we always think that whatever practice we have is somehow more powerful than everything else out there.
Right. Yeah. Or more valid or whatever.
Classic ego folly. Classic ego folly.
Yeah.
But
and like, don't get me wrong.
Everybody falls prey to it. That's the thing, and I don't get it. I don't get it.
Like there have been times where like like you see someone else like approaching a spell in a different way, and you're like, maybe I wouldn't have done it that way, but to each their own is what it really comes down to.
And the thing is, too, like, how do I put this? Some practices will yield more net results, right? Like if you're sitting there and you're just trying to banish routinely and just be observant of things, you're probably going to get some results, but like you're not necessarily conjuring to make things happen, right? And if you're working a system that is entirely on developing spell work and framing that allows you to grow as a practitioner, you're going to constantly develop yourself in a way that makes you grow. So you will have certain things that will yield a bit more self-development potential than other systems, but I don't think that anyone's any greater than anyone else,
No. On the grand scheme of things, no. That's just not the way things work.
Never does.
Yeah. But I know we're at an hour. Just kind of I guess more of a little kind of normal life sort of catching up episode. Things have been really brutal this past week. I haven't really done much in the way of magical practice. Though like we did clean up our basement and stuff. We did clean up our working room. We're working on shops for our South Jersey Pagan Pride shop debut.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just been a really
that in the Discord.
Yes, we did talk about
nice.
So yeah, I don't know.
I got coconut oil and I'm gonna make the bombs.
Yeah, I'm also trying to figure out how to make balms, BALMS. What was I saying? Oh shit. Oh yeah, I want to try and make my own charcoal discs. That's one of our goal. Like the little charcoal discs
you can get flour at Walmart.
Yeah, we should grab that. We also have to go buy tents at Walmart. But I just wanted to see if there's any sort of concluding thoughts with this episode. It was sort of like a quick little catch-up episode. Life's been hard this past week, so forgive the lack of theory and craft and shop talk.
We'll be back with that next week when we have our Scots. This is just this nice little quiet, little quick. I was telling Jay, and I want to tell you, Sophia, while we are still alive, that I am grateful that we have this podcast and the very small amount of people who do listen to us, because I treat this like my church. Like I have something to look forward to every single Sunday that reminds me of my faith, because my faith is paganism and my practice is witchcraft, and being queer is a huge part of it, and this podcast is my family, and it gives me a nice break on the Lord's Day that I look forward to. So until next week, I'm gonna shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I kind of echo that sentiment. I'm very excited. I'm also, as much as I don't want to go to Walmart, I'm glad that, it's all in service for pagan pride, right? It's all for the pagan community. Gonna go brave Walmart so we can buy some tents and tables. But yeah, any concluding thoughts from you, Sophia, before we sign off for today?
Nah, be a
No.
slut.
Be a slut. Go see Barbie.
Fuck the government.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. Well, with that, we are going to sign out of here, and we will see you all.